Mont Saint is to Tarikakushi was narrabatate a variety of evidence. Well, nanny, such a thing was in my room. Do not know, not at all. Akechi-san, did you nasu find? No, are you snow of the maid? Either has been acquired by Akechi-san. Mont Saint been a beautiful dream in ruins. It had become desperation feeling. Well, no, that's right, but that I do not know, not at all. But there is a little while ago. If you said the letter, remember? Do you hi to Akechi's hand up there? I'm that letter. I first was aware of the criminal is crippled is confided that the settlement of the dead in favor of Yamano. Me, I came threatened. Me and my husband have relationships and my temper well know because those who are soaking in its weakness. Me of its company's orchid trying to weigh I think. That letter I received the most in the first Akechi's is that after you no need. Machiko until that time is dead, even I was skeptical that it. Otherwise, when was somehow the Machiko? Or what to ask what an Akechi's something. Quote, Mont Saint is into it is the surprising, and the illusion that flew. Mrs. Elizabeth in shame began to say to try to death together. Whether I do good dipped with the fit. Registration has become rather tired. The Yuri was completely gone opened striking a secret. In a state that another anything he's is it. To avow disappointed, Mont Saint that has been dropped luck from the beautiful dream of the country to the reality. Community to absurdity and shame however is instant words to say also was sitting there idly without. Long awkward silence followed. In the unknown one of the three people that was written in that letter from barely. Mont was asked turned into clerical tone to hey. What I was Yamano-san. I mean it is the translation of that crippled has filled the corpse assumes the favor of Yamano-san. No yes but Mrs. answered, such as that good, even if the other was a javelin of tone. That it is not a lie. From gone just Machiko as. My husband Icer out quite have a store of money. Manager although I was me talking to me worried. Such large to master gold I do not think that there was a necessity of. When I see that letter, did I immediately notice there. And the money just maybe. Might was done to the driver half. Master there was carried out chasing a man to state as Osaka. Though was kidnapped Machiko, but was said to be because regained. In the after in order not to reveal the secret. I went to do the money I understand that it. But I do suspect such moto for the husband. I was not even show Korapachi. And oh to viewer you up to disease. There was no sorry specifications is. So you know the secret Fukiya is somehow. Yeah, but I cannot be said to be clear. Was ground to that garbage car I think or was not a Fukiya. I mean, to my and it's never imitate Yamano itself such. Mr. Yo Minamoto Terra is. That would be crippled outside Machiko of carcasses that does not have a transportable department such person. However, too late to do that. I do not start I was looking to pry Kobayashi-san. I guess I should how I. Is not that let's back rabbit also to corner your mansion. No way like a while ago so it does not say that should be drop mosquitoes with me. Mont Saint. Went to be like a clumsy joke as Iku. Do me escape. Well, if you even death fallen from more roof. Also, but let's also subjected like countermeasure. But my will have to once this happens anyway preparedness. Both ahead I become your ally I think you are doing look only thing possible. It will give forgive me. Quote, I am what you ask. Looking at the wife to come leaning without Thailand. Foolish become Mont Saint also became a little happy. Eventually two people had been out of the woods walking on the bank towards the Yamano house. It is, but do not know is the mood of Mr. Yamano. Whole why, would became willing to kill the real daughter. When it comes to Yamano is a formal man does not suit also to the merchant no. And cut, because you stood do that drastic much. Too much of that was going to be was with intense in the chastisement probably Kanzui the slutty of Machiko. Anna I think is or not was supposed to be. It is in it. Also there are a variety of circumstances. It had been hidden in servants. because Komatsu made went that run away. Really master, no, I'm an illegitimate child of. Hard I had Shikajiri is still in his youth, but as a person. It where to put the house as an ordinary. If daughter. Because the thing obstinate who say my husband now. Daughter of discipline ya. Saying that it is the fun inconvenience of relatives of. It is but lacked eyes turned to the shade. The surface had been to that maid. Quote, well then, I'm a sister in Machiko and Komatsu. Mont Saint was felt very surprising. I know that's right. To have a sister. Two people is like the temperament is different. Mr. Machiko, large of tomboy, does not suit the child made to the belly of the merchant is more of Komatsu. It can be better it was. Is gentle daughter. Quote, the top of the bank that became already a dark. Two men walked tottering. One body and there is also blame was also tired mind. One properly is fear to face the truth home early. He nature walk has become dull. Then, something butterfly knife without headlong to lonely is. Daughter comrades of the fruit, Mrs. continued talking. One man, a something knee driver will also partner. Knowing that the air fighting, because as the Yamano was will was not yes without the cut. The mood will be guessed well. There is no difference in mind. Such as held it. It's one of the slut daughter. After all, and I think that it is your own child of sin slutty gave birth. I had longed, thought to view and Yamano really sorry what is. Why did not we Ryota surrender? When was such negligence? There would not be in much of a sin. I mean, what I killed one person. Even if the sin is light, I cannot communicate to the public. I'm usually husband to care about the world that was the love hidden somehow is not at all. Unreasonable the is nada. Not only the safety of Yamano own. I did to worry about something like that house name. Why say, if this is a package from slutty of Yamano, ugly girls since I dispute would completely become known. Quote, I only had Nasu, chastisement is Machiko, or would somehow. What it is the openly daughter. Husband to do that, no as meticulously think such people. And, love of my husband. Speaking of which way or to look also thought it was inclined towards the unfortunate Komatsu Banari Desmace. Tomboy is not fit the ethos of the master. Quote, his wife. Behold silently an inch, suddenly Mont Saint has won the wife. There is a guy that comes with someone from behind. Stop talking, and increasingly the ear was a person of spirit to shore. It is that there is no difference in the tail person, and here is stop the foot. Toward even he would stop perfect in falling, and see through the dark. It had Shinobu as someone in the immediate side of the tree's shade. Who is? We do you have such also patronized? Issued a loud voice. Mont Saint is stretched bravado. Kobayashi is me. Then, the man is out of the unconcernedly product shadow it referred to in the Kokuri Yasui tone. Though I've been tail only from O-town had been found at last. Ryo you terribly excited. Did not a little also noticed. Is I Hirata you have for your help if a Akechi's thing is. But I was apparent you at once or twice Kakusu Museum. I am quite sure that I will not know. Quote, Mont Saint heard it was a cut in the intensely of abomination. To that in the earlier of the forest. And I think being transmitted from this man's mouth to Akechi, in the absence of like a sama parallax, was the feeling that you once suddenly su kamakakari to the other party. Anything I had put the after. Please I'm sorry, I'm wearing nice Akechi-san. I am in front of the house of that Ocho. That the Irasharo out of you was a roll waiting. Then I like is that the escape did you knew perfectly. It's so manner. Your side after the Te orchestra. But good if to enter you if to your residence. If not, how far even tailing, that the re also detail listening something to a few talk was. And, if you happen to be two of you only to such as have crisis of, with your salvation Mose. That's what, well, Mr. Akechi knows that you are a wife in that house. On purpose it's always crowded brought me. Then, escape two people. was overheard to discuss various things that it was arrangements that required. I'm a case of an emergency. When occurred the unlikely event such a thing, that it was the instruction that the white way, because anything you started to a misunderstanding that flew wife, do not be possible if the was sin pass. That night the puppeteer Kunimatsu Yasukawa of the house, a strange meeting was held. A wide workplace Idajiki ordered the sitting of Ariawasi, their Tamura prosecutor, the police of people, including the criminal director multiplied by the waste. Montan Kobayashi Uchishore. In the meantime, the figure of Yasukawa puppeteer, not come in Kyoto, it was also Sue Yamano Mrs. It was left to the mansion, become a semi-invalid for the physical and mental overwork. The dwarf was a serious injury. Been rushed to the nearby hospital, because there was the border of life and death. Not participate in this meeting absent. Without a variety of dolls strange sculptured group which went up can be on one of the workplace. Unfinished head in the near. Arms, legs, etc. had been rolling and rumbling like as of the dwelling house of the human diet demon. And China's clothing appearance of Akechi. Not tired of Sakai seeing as dolls both are standing in front of it. Something has been frequently described. His neighbor. There is a small table. On top of the tables he's lined with memorabilia of evidence that showed the Mont Saint someday. He says because finally deliver the real culprit. Tamura and prosecutors of the relationship of friends, such as criminal director. It was summoned to there. Just who was to be from the deformity children Torimanocho of subsequently. If there is serious reason to outside, the workplace of the puppeteers was chosen as the location of the description. Is in the Agechi. It is crucial to the day of the most important programs. If he ends up once described the progress of the past, we went finally came down to business. That doubt should person is the culprit of Machiko killing had 5 first the priest of Yo Minamoto Terra, but is crippled i.e. example. This is but there is no difference in the most Kyoku was in mad. Hitoka the limbs of Machiko was exposed in front of the public. To think from such as that threaten the Yamano wife is obvious it is not the direct perpetrators. The second is Yamano wife. This man's stepmother of Machiko on it. Shall hear it is other Machiko personal effects as her have been hidden in the closet of the room, with her depending on the thread of crippled, but had been multiplied by the deepest suspicion. For I was suspicious of another person to speak later. It is a translation that did not make the hasty assertive as Kobayashi-kun. And in here I am. Because I have already confessed that there is a Mrs. Her innocence has been clarified. The third is taking to Michiko's maid Komatsu rival. This woman is homebound to Ken referred to as a disease from the day on which the incident. Ran away from home in a few days the inn. By such as that does not have whereabouts is unknown now. I have become deeply used out in the police. It is the reason I am there is to be found in her whereabouts. And never in the criminal the fact that there is no. The fourth is thrown in now detention prison. Is a poor North Island Haruo. But this man has known from the beginning is not the culprit. It was Zetsumu of evidence that crept from the outside on the day outside of that. If he is a criminal, nor should you use something plaster image to Kyoko. Because it is the translation, there is no reason to hide the corpse by the method according of such. Trouble of the piano in the recycle bin. The fifth operation hand of Butterbur Ya. But we are slightly suspected to be returned to the following day country of the incident. He is a lover of Machiko. How even without that was hated by those of his Machiko. An inch motive of murder there is no. Not only, I discovered also the whereabouts of this man. That even one person without a true culprit is to him I was able Kameru be that it is not a criminal. That is out of 5 of the suspects it is then it was found. Quote, Akechi was the better good of the examples. Suggestive things. This is in his detective life, but so to speak, the only pleasure being the effect that it has stimulated the curiosity of Kakai was great. There even forget to smoke a cigarette. He stared only Chun to move smoothly of Akechi's elementary school. However, here one more person. The sixth of the suspects have appeared. It is right now. I put the marks of Yamano wife and Kobayashi-kun's subordinates. Was able Keimeru to hear the confession of Mrs. as Akechi spoke, barely scratches whole story in Sumi to Tsutsumi from this is strange behavior of Yamano wife. Mine is had also noticed early, but thoughtfulness. Not know many of the people of chaste Mrs. I truly feel sorry for the translation to the wife, but I was totally wasted. Yamano said is by no means a sinner of the biological child killing. Quote, surprisingly, the suspects of Akechi has done so entirely, had denied one and all. The wife was believed to have killed a biological child with Mr. Yamano Kutsu's. I was by no means impossible, Akechi was continued, because such a misunderstanding between husband and wife occurs. It is like strange considering an inch. But Mr. Yamano is an unusually strict nature. Relationship with Mrs. kind of special. For example, the old flow that was in the master-slave of such relationship. Then, a strange position of Yamano's for this time of the incident. Also, such as that produced a strange alienation between two people. There is no difference in the was the cause of this misunderstanding. I look like that all the circumstances are pointing at Yamano. Mr. happens to be Tuya Yamano said of the first incident went over at the Fukiya of driver who was staying up late in the way of European-style building. It gave a large sum of quinine. Went home from there attacked by a nervous fever. The incident was followed by a day that does not listen even mouth away the family member. His illness that went heavier is to development. Then, in crippled it is of threatening letters sent to Mrs. Yu. Yamano's name had been written. Quote, he took the baked rest of the letter of example on the table. Path that put it in hand. Wording, described and the like. Listener was all surprising complexion. Only one person. Only Kunamatsu Yasukawa's. Talk of Akechi was also trembling not enter the ear. Mont Saint also was initially surprising feeling. If he was not a criminal until Yamano, who had been thought that there is no finally mistake. It does not remain any person should doubt no longer. Bleep do Akechi is what you're thinking. He has professed to deliver the real culprit tonight. And its songs will of being in this Yasukawa of the house. No way am I that puppeteer is in its criminal. But, among which are many things thinking that way. Suddenly a surprising thought was grazing his head. He is in for a surprise and joy. Face has turned red. It's that photo. Akechi is a look at that photograph. Was a boring chat read there. I was good if you look at thinking well anymore. It is on the desk of Akechi Te great. Now are put on the bottom of the table. Was a family everyone photos Yamano. Akechi why meaning hair and dealing with that photograph. I mean that was found what now? Even so, this as well. It will be surprising fact what? So, you mean that suspects are no longer even one person, but more than that there was a murder. There is no should be no criminal description of Akechi lasted. The culprit I had to sure. Just because it is too surprising culprit. Any person, even the Yamano wife, I did not notice. I have your promise. I will your delivery the culprit tonight Masu. You, but, before that, I think the path the K2man in your story and put the degree of doctor, which led to the discovery of the real culprit. The people of the police because I think I would be more or less your reference. Quote, or to Akechi it was suggestive of even Tamura prosecutor in impatience and reassemble the Guattari and feet. Akechi-kun, do not you allow hate to have a mind. First tomato from reveal the culprit. Satewa, Akechi is smiling pleasantly face. It appears to be still have no idea to you. And Bing, to may let me well orderly spoken. Apparently, your story does not go a novel manner. To as easy as possible. Rairaku of Mr. Tamura was rewarded derided friends with a laugh. I am the first. Was found a disharmony in this incident. This cosmetic is from the bottle of cream. Akechi took up a pot of white ponpin cream on the platform. Musician detective is sensitive to the cacophony might need to be a disharmony sensitive to the fact is what often to the discovery of a minor disharmony and becomes the starting point of reasoning. This is 3 centi makeup is from was brought table but up to the bottle outside. As you can see, there is all fingerprint, as this cream only was wiped off. I do not see anything of the mark. The most oil bleeding easy is the bottle of cream. However, despite the outside was wiped carefully, what mistake of a wise man, on the surface of the cream there remains quite clearly in fingerprint. Then, the fingerprint is outside of the bottle, and cut the arm of the fingerprint example. Use something completely different. This is the fingerprint of the right index finger. If you compare to the same finger of here of water face powder, but you have any similar wonder, well, so be it. Then was seen with the naked eye is enough to distinguish unexpected stick. I was a different person of the fingerprint. If you look at the lens, you know. People are very fashionable that Machiko, the dressing table, but I still had a lot of cosmetics on the outside. What is strange is, it is not a little also with a fingerprint, because does not have a fingerprint on the cosmetics of the bottle was used even once. It is to not be considered an inch. I am quite sure that I will not be mean wipe the bottle every time you use. This is when there is a place to be for something. Or you would not be on purpose wiping the fingerprint. Then, let's be why there was no eye wipe by the amount that is here. That's because had to do solely to the minute. This means that only this is not a personal effects of Machiko. That it has been perjury that prepared Takumi. Mont Saint was somehow glad such feelings that his had hit the imagination is. It goes revealed gradually. The evidence, cosmetics that remain of this fingerprint, as the personal effects of Machiko of luxury shops, to a little sober taste. Toko is this hydrogen peroxide cucumber, such as hydrogen peroxide cream, either the thing appropriate to the people of the oil-based speaking. But Machiko is because is that it was a pale Susan skin on the other, but cannot be asserted and was not used at all. Is I feel not a little inappropriate, than fair-skinned powder there. Pale man in spite of it is common to use the rose water white powder that here is a thing of the appropriate green to red-faced. What I say Matahana Camellia perfume oils. It does not use much in the Yohatsu. In other words, be observed from either. These cosmetics is of no difference to those put to regular not intended to be somewhere outside Machiko to bring from the place of the rooms Machiko. Description of Akechi is gradually going into the fine points. It is a perjury cosmetics has been prepared. You know by this blotting paper. This also is still what is one of the perjury. He showed the blotting paper of pink. It is that of the surface fingerprint of the ink of the thumb had appeared clearly. This had been put in the middle of even the desk writing Machiko. On purpose it was put to the noticeable place I understood at a glance. Then, remaining in the faint traces that blotted the letter here to Hiv. An inch was of the saw, but I cannot read and has become a trickle down in the dotted line. Pencil characters clear when viewed with the marks come appeared in. But, there is no point to be noted in the complaint. Just feminine only a part of the sentence has appeared. By the way, here there are separate of Machiko Hiseki. If you look in comparison with the blotter and Hiseki of paper this, both in the young feminine hand, but very similar. Just thus it is seen to not know the real thing. Blotter it because more of the paper is left character. Akechi is take a flashlight mirror that had been prepared for it. By holding on top of the blotting paper, was set to look towards the listener. Such as Tamura prosecutors, carried out with a face to the doorstep. It was to compare the two of Hiseki as I was impressed. It's totally different person of Hiseki looking mended in this way right character. In other words, the blotter paper is not something of Machiko. Then I what Tamura prosecutor went surprised. Benzo 8, something armed dwarf walked equity is. I would not of Machiko. If their fingerprint is that, it is a lie. That's right, I was not Machiko. Speaking of such a thing, but this incident is a translation come Katsuge, from the root. Katsuge, come, is wrong from the starting point. Akechi answered unconcernedly. Mr. Tamura of complexion came tinged with finely seriously taste. Criminal department also began to ride before one knee. In Akechi-kun, whether that Machiko is not dead. Yes, Machiko is I did not die. Well, you are? Tamura, prosecutor, and blue face for the crossing of a certain emotion, glared at Akechi. Yes, Akechi is in the manner read the facial expressions of the prosecutor, has hit the idea of the street. You, Machiko's not a victim. Rather than a victim, I perpetrators. Machiko, I what a criminal. Then, where are the victims? Machiko as he killed everyone together. Wait to May. But I generally registration is with Akechi is put to one the prosecutor. Lead refers to the puppeteer, which is smaller, towards the corner. Quote, Yasukawa's. But I like listening but Sukanu. Everyone dolls are lined up here, I would be goods of Chuman. Hey, a Hidara-sama, puppeteer answered named the Chun. Everyone, NDE put to Hanayashiki. You will find a live doll. Cupid doll in a row towards the back. Although it quite a big thing. I guess after all decorate to Hanayashiki. Hey, a Hidara-sama, puppeteer had started trembling as visible to the other eye. But, this Cupid doll, but I like was hung between the shop until yesterday. I had Y mixed with outside of puppet. Behavior of doll nurses had told all. Akechi is Unibani, and pulled down the raw dolls both get in the way. Close to the Cupid doll of the back, then pick up a hammer that had fallen on its side, and aiming at the zany face of the doll, was added to the vigorous blow. Collapse the face of the doll. Chunks of wood shavings and the soil was scattered with the package. This is a pitiful victim. Akechi and go aside oysters the soil with your finger. From the back, appear dead in the face of deep blue that disturbed the black hair. Pung and nasty smell with your nose. Mosu needless to. This is komatsu made. The poorer cut in half in both hands both feet. Is just dwarf in its original appearance. This, in the body of the god of luck was smiling. Had been filled was you. Scary as brewing crippled the curse. But, quote, Akechi's suddenly mum, just appeared dead in the throat at that time. A strange black bruises were visible on the bottom of the skin. It of marks grabbed with a finger or bright. This is surely, I did not cut, death only scratched my head, I was killed, Yuri with a finger. Strange silence came. Even the police of people whom Anna Nair did not bear to emitropic this unprecedented brutality. Everyone breath drank body, and the entire room was a gruesome tableau's one field. Light of reddish electric lamp is in light of the half of the people on the floor and walls was throwing a shadow such as Mononoke. Living human beings both as does not move as dead. Retirement a raw defunct doll both it is. Looked like laughing and giggling postponed face. From the then, Machiko is such a translation was encounter in the eyes of the Komatsu rival. Finally, Mr. Tamura went along with the sigh. That's right, expected of Akechi was also somewhat pale. It's love on the back of the crime. Love for the Fukiya with Machiko and Komatsu. Love for Yamano, wife of Dwarf. This incident is starting from all love. But it was put pain into this doll. It's not Machiko. I still Dwarf. Then, a man that this Yasukawa also accomplices. I that glared and suspicious of the puppeteer is also because he might Edoki that the dwarf from entering last night here, but the other one, dwarf, had been disguised as ordinary human beings. Rather than the joint foot commonplace of prosthetic leg, was the doll the foot of leftover wood. To elaborate a special device, a broken bend place or well done something really condition. He is of such order that had been constantly wearing shoes. Because not on the outside than the first puppeteer is to make such a thing. In other words, This Yasukawa and Dwarf 10 I know difference to the long-standing of the inseparable relationship. Quote, but, Akechi-kun, that's very much strange. Mr. Tamura is suddenly aware of how everything was blocking the description of Akechi. I wonder if my head is somehow. Although I do, that seems impossible. Komatsu it looks and the victim. Will those who have something arm that carry the dwarf example. Komatsu running away from home was the in with a couple of days before the, if not the hour and minute of the department store incident was still in Yamano family. Although I think there's a time irrational. But, from the next day there was the incident. Komatsu fell ill, and there was fear such a place is to be seen a face to the people. Even when I shook her bed, buried my face in the pillow, could not orthoscopic towards me. It just is not. Her carelessly thrown out the finger and the nail polish had been applied. In like manner the daughter of a finger. Quote, Wakashi and in, whether there will be such ridiculous. Quote, I also first had thought to no way. But Midame this. My opinion was determined from the time you noticed this photo. Akechi is to say so. Taking a photograph of the Yamano home, everyone from the top of the table. I began pointing towards Mr. Tamura and criminal director. To do so, it had been to a strange prank on the face of Michiko. Her eyebrows completely fill in the chalk. The frame of the glasses was written under it. I see it, and Mr. Tamura and criminal director baked one and is admired and looked at each other. Similar. Would look like. Take the eyebrows of Michiko. Let glasses. The finesse plenty of facial expressions. If more static, not attached Komatsu and Atel. It is also a reason. Because Komatsu in fact, in the illegitimate child of Mr. Yamano, and Michiko because the sister. However, one Otanashiyaka expressionless, is a difference of one is and what of craftsmanship plenty tomboy. It glasses and eyebrows toga's form of hair because they're only not an inch notice. Do you know that Michiko is that night? The end of fighting is called the half-sister of the rival. Too much of passion, overthrowing the head with it. Plaster image what I had to kill your opponent. In the case of the instant, is a translation that came up with a bright idea that garbled in Komatsu. That's what do you mean? Apparently garbled to the maid. But my also mean that sin will disappear. I was a daredevil that even the North Island was to Takaharu a while ago. Just at the day before madman he's blinded the eyes. Heartbreak that has issued an eerie warning of the postcard to Michiko out of the prison. Might be killed no. Michiko is also the day. Head by the daredevil had become full. Because just that when that misfortune has happened at one in order to escape the vengeance of the North Island. One in order to avoid the suspicion of Komatsu killed. Also in part, to Yamano wife, in order to put the suspicion of killing stepchild. Be considered from either. It came up with the bright idea that convenient disguise. Michiko is taken together. It was love reader of detective novels. M of her mood Nari can be seen. Well, Nari is vending flaps. Also bookshelf of Michiko, as I said, was almost buried in and out of the detective story because of corpse also of both. Trash trick was hidden in the piano made a perjury to his wife of room. All its are of wisdom. Example health husband minus the garbage cars. He butter shop lover was garbled. Because I did not know it is in my wife. I funny. No, there is a man who knew only one person. It's Yamano's father of Michiko. Just it because he was in a western style to the hour and minute that happened the incident. Yamano said only people strict to honor the family name to agreed retirement day in the planning of Michiko. Then, all together with Michiko was about to leave buried within a secret. Giving gold was allowed to run away from home to Michiko was garbled in Komatsu also. Was also Mr. Yamano, the acquisition of Osho and Fukiya of Yo Minamoto Terra. Such a way Yamano Mr. It will be lead to the suspicion of his wife. But the form of do you happen to complicate eventually incident. Quote, then, Examples of the crippled, and underwriting that Umar Komatsu of the corpse, using its position squeeze the money from Mr. Yamano. On the other hand, it is a translation that was threatening the missus. We do so in the Yamano, I said. I do not know is that it is an a villain that shaved us, surely why was the very hard easy relationship crippled. I wonder guy had entered preparative work it all the way to this since there is a relationship which had given assistance. If you ask to witness the circumstances, I thought there are 10,000 people betray such a thing. Quote, it's really complicated affair, but it was found approximate thread in your explanation. So, I guess me delivered the promised criminal. I have hidden where the hell Machiko, criminal director, as the first time I noticed his important role, said in a strict tone. Delivering it pass. But Akechi answered in a tone that sank. Machiko also I'm sorry. Slut point pity she is bad for sure. Considering that it is also the only daughter who grew up in the complex home. Even her only sin became such a thing it does not. And she's not only negligence to say that was killed. People are very regret the past sin now. Tamura-kun. I guess me put include well of the circumstances of this area. Quote, I was found, trying to live up to as much as possible hope of you. Rabbit also to may tell you the lay of the corner early criminal. What Machikos are here in the house. When Akechi is a signal, open the sliding door in the direction of residence, and Machiko of subordinates and made a figure of Akechi from there. And, surprisingly is until Butterbur shop of the driver appeared standing together. Machiko is Nakano tragic, did not have the power to raise the eye. Fukiya Ikun also had from the beginning in this house. Akechi has been described Michedo, a suspicious face of the people. It results also that after all Yamano Mr. Overconfident the priest of Yo Minamoto Terabata. Fukiya-kun was the corpse transport. Because after all there is no difference in the communication class. Leave the priest is recommended. Entrusted the way Kakuma is. Dwarf would there was also something Mata Akudakumi if in the pay building at the back of the house in the hideout of the quickie. It was to be transported to there also 3 meals. And Fukiya is there. Komatsu Machiko as I was waiting to come ran away from home. The killed as if divided clearly be that it was Machiko. So garbled was of Komatsu errands Machiko as sits need you. Yamano Mr. Hakara, look at the appropriate timing to run away from home a Komatsu Machiko. Not here I decided to meet with the Butterbur shop. Machiko is the daughter of Mr. Yamano. Made if you put in the fact that, at that together with the driver, it's not a terribly unsightly. Yamano said, I might have thought from the previous to do that. Quote, then when the description of Akechi gets settled down, Machiko, Fukiya, 3 people of Kunamatsu Yasukawa, was to be entrained rabbit also to corner the neighborhood of the original garden department. Shiora Shiku sobbing Machiko, pale Fukiya, Yasukawa you are trembling. The air of a moment the room seemed damp out. 3 of the detectives, hidden in the manner stand hit, was Zui, after, and, it was when they tried to leave the workplace of the entrance now. Mr. Machiko, an inch. Akechi had been quietly watching the Cupid doll. In a tone that was noticed something suddenly. Was hailed a Machiko, you are? Or, did you strangle the neck of Komatsu there is remember after the finger of the dead of the neck. Machiko had hesitated between an inch but answered with soon suspicious face state. No, I do not do such a thing. Really? Yeah. Akechi became suddenly cheerful and hear it? He is by way of example. With a smile. It was turning oysters thriving long hair. Tamura-kun, an inch waiting to May. Perhaps the real culprit might not be Mr. Machiko. For good sake. Prosecutor was looking at the face of Akechi amazed. You just now. Or Mr. Machiko is not it affirmed that it is criminal. No, it might have been a little wrong. I was wrong? You're after the finger of the victim's neck. He's the first to give the finger Machiko. And gee is I feel like too large to I noticed there now. And Ms. Michiko is remember strangling is to say that there is no then Wakashi and this is. Just at that time, Saito subordinates of Akechi is. It came crowded over rather Zahuang from the side of the table. Mr. Akechi, an inch. Akechi is take me towards his corner, was exchanged whispered something to whispers. Akechi that my imagination was not wrong, turned around towards the people as Kin. After all, the real culprit is there was outside. Michiko-san's not necessarily that killed Komatsu. It's nothing really. I cried at the same time most of Mr. Tamura in criminal director is a dwarf. Let's report the new fact that this Saito-kun has brought now. Dwarf was Mashi taking over the breath in a hospital bed. He is a phase confessed all his sins at the time of the Imawa. That is how many have sinned no matter how incredibly cruel. There will be the opportunity to your story either. Now we raised monkey only the part related to this incident. Komatsu of the corpse he was covered in that morning garbage although Fukiya I received from Mr. in an attempt to hide the corpses on the night of the day to a place which is not stuck in the public eye. When you lift up from the garbage, Komatsu also accidentally returns wipe the breath. She will had not been completely die at all, but crippled the temporary was surprised. The next moment the brutality of his inborn has reared its ugly head. He has cursed all of satisfaction human was I and Komatsu is revived. Not can also draw money from Yamano said. There is no means to blackmail Mrs. Suyu that he was strangled again much trouble Ra returned. Daughter and in the criminal exposed to public view the only arms and legs length to the people. Scared and Mr. Yamano and his wife in a separate meaning. It is one was to satisfy even the crime exposed well to be horror of deformity children. But face length cannot be in criminal exposed to public view. If it misses will be realized the truth. So looking for the face and body of the cash. Kaya P. I found something good that doll. Because it is confession of dying. No way I am quite sure that I will not lie. Quote, Mont Saint is an unusual sight at that time. It was not able to forget for a long time. Akechi is stamping the workplace of Idajiki while grasping the hair. And go here and go to there. Liaoning walk. Michiko. Ryo Hito of Fukiya the tearful face of until now. Show the Haji Shika a smile. Running people in Yamano house. Delighted the remainder of the hearing the good news. Yamano's serious illness as I heavily was accompanied by his wife. Thank you for your viewing. If you like please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.